Hello and welcome aboard the M60 here on Karelia in Realistic. Now, today's video is could be the title Why I Love Arcade, from a different perspective, from the realistic gameplay standpoint. Now, realistic is something new for me, still, even having played hundreds of battles. It is so different from arcade in certain respects. The flow of the battle, and for all intents and purposes, it's not for the better always. But I will come back to this. The reason why I show you this is because I made overall a lot of kills. In fact, I made 10 kills. And there is a massive rant at the end of the battle, I guess, because of the reward. Because that is just simply bad. Now here I took my time to aim properly on this Leopard. He didn't saw me. One right through the ammo rack, and it works on German tanks. Just saying. And it was not the entirety of the battle that I will show you. Certain parts I will cut out where literally nothing happens, but you will know what happens. The thing is, the battle, needed like 23 minutes. 23 minutes of, playing one match. And I would love that, this is what I wanted for a long time. Long battles with intense action, and you get a reward for this. But lately, both enduring confrontations and realistic, got a bit lost. Realistic, gameplay has its two sides. It is kind of rewarding when you are very good, but it's really punishing when you're not good. If I may say so myself, I'm not the worst pilot and tanker out there, but I certainly give tankwise arcades the first try. Overall, the M60 is also this kind of tank that is so much better in realistic compared to arcade. In arcade, it's a terrible, terrible tank. And I played it mostly in arcade. I know what I'm talking about. It features basically the same cannon as the Leopard does, which is also a very, very terrible tank in arcade. I think with the Leopard I have my worst kill to death ratio in any tank, I think aside from the T95. It is that bad. It lacks speed, not mentioning the protection, which I would gladly accept, and the cannon just doesn't do the job in arcade. Overall, this is not a very good tank, both the M60 and the Leopard. But they feel kind of much more different in realistic, and I did a lot of comparisons lately with my tank reviews playing both tanks in arcade and realistic. And I think I see a pattern emerging here, that all Russian tanks are way too good in arcade, but they feature a lot more drawbacks in realistic. Now with the M60 here, I went into the spawn and I thought, yeah, spawn camping is not the most exciting thing ever, and I made my way to A. Somebody killed somebody else from our team in the cap circle in A, but it still decaps, so that's not a problem. And I actually tried something ballsy. By the way, this was the very first game that I played today, and I thought I would give realistic battles a go. Now if this is beginner's luck, if I may say so myself, or if it is just the first game of the day, I actually turned around and wanted to shoot this German AAA. But somehow, the shell disappears or the enemy retreated. I don't know. I don't care. Missed chance. Let's move on. I have to say, overall, the M60 feels so much similar between realistic and arcade that, it occurred to me that it feels like somebody forgot to implement the arcade model for this tank, and they just gave it a realistic driving model for arcade as well. Why it is so terrible. In fact, you know, there are ways that I can make this tank work, and I featured actually a heartbreaker match where I killed 15 tanks, and this is somehow a pattern with the M60s, or also with the Leopard. It can be that you die after one kill, and you know, you bounce off with your APDS from the side of the track of a T-54. He turns around and one-shots you with the stock shell, you know, which is so disgustingly annoying. And yeah, that doesn't encourage you to drive on with this kind of tank. Very same goes for the Leopard. It's always this huge, let's say, unluckiness that I have with tanks that are not Russian in arcade. There are a lot of exceptions, especially from tier 1 to tier 4. I think the balance is much more there than compared to tier 5 in both tanks and planes. But in planes it's more a BR issue than a nation issue, to be honest. Overall, I had here the chance, and I knew that there is something else behind me, and I, you know, wanted to advance as far as possible to get out of the danger zone. And I loaded a hash after, you know, disabling the first Yak Tiger, killing the second one with a hash shell, and then I get shot from behind. And yeah, this is basically the end. You know, game mechanics and realistic are so much more encouraging, you know, very unforgiving. And this Leopard had the same experience as I had, with bouncing off somewhere, and then he finishes me off from the front with the skill shell, sorry, heat shell. And yeah, that's it for me. I killed 3 tanks and had 1 assist before I died. That gave me 900 points overall. At least that's what the spawn point system says to me. And now I'm in the P80, where I get an air spawn, which is nice. I have 8 rockets, and I featured the P80, I guess, already in one video where I showed that it is not too bad in, you know, combined RB battles. But at the same time, in another video I mentioned that, you know, I don't like this. I think it was in the F80 video. Yes. But I still gave it a shot, you know. I wanted to get a very good result and just try that out. Maybe I was unlucky all the time, and yeah, and I see that there is another plane up from the enemy. It looked like an Arado from far, so I closed in to investigate. And I think there is one really huge advantage that I can give, you know, higher tiered combined arms, and that is that your jets not always face enemy jets. Very often you face props, because a lot of people began to play War Thunder with their planes, and yes, my shooting is terrible. I overleaded by a lot. And so they had a lot of planes and just began to research their tanks. And now we're coming into the phase where a lot of people are going for tanks and don't have researched all the, you know, all the aircraft, especially at higher tiers. They think it's not worth it, or they just want that one particular plane. This is, by the way, a very, very good chance for Gaijin to make a lot of money. And yes, that was a double kill, and that crash was so worth it. Again, 3 kills. And watch this. I got, again, over 1000 points for that. Okay, spawn point wise. So it seems like it's incredibly easy to make a lot of spawn points with aircraft. Now, this plane cost me 1200 spawn points. So I have around 800 left. And let's start from the ground. Now, knowing the FADC from realistic battles, I know that I have to be really careful from the start. And so I, blast the web. And our team is, yeah, it's hanging in the balance with the enemy team. So every difference that I make is very important. Realistic battles overall, feature some kind of snowball system, much like World of Tanks, because when one enemy team starts losing players, it's damn hard for the enemy team to come back, especially when the first team gets rewarded with additional spawn points to then feature aircraft. And you could see with that one rocket strike, I took out a Yak Tiger and a Leopard. Those are two incredibly dangerous tanks, especially when being in conjunction to each other. And it cost me literally no skill to take them out with my aircraft. And you might argue, yeah, but if there is a AAA around, AAAs are not always around. And that is another drawback. When you go into, your, how to say it, when you go into your respawn, you have the choice between a tank and a plane, and very often it's one or two players that misdecide or are relatively selfish because they want to grind a plane in realistic battle. Yeah, my aiming really sucks here. I ripped off my flaps, but hey. And that means you might have the air superiority, but you don't have the advantage on the ground. And now is the time. My engine is damaged, I got shot from the ground, not sure by what, I don't care. I have no rockets left, I did my ground strike again. 2 tanks and 1 airplane. And I decide to go back. So I got back to the airport. Airport, is that a real name? To the airfield, repaired, rearmed, refueled, rearmed, and whatever. I have a fresh package of skill under my wings, rockets, and now I try to find the lost enemies. There are not too many left on the enemy team. So I look around, trying frantically to spot the enemy. And I could see him for a split second, but I didn't spot the Leopard at the time. So I looked closely to the map and also the kill feed if any enemy gets shot, and therefore it shows the marker. Or, I spot him, or he kills one of ours. And then I have to see where the one disappeared and have to look around where he possibly could fire at him. And there I spotted him. I turned around. The Lancaster, or was it a Halifax, goes through. Didn't bomb him. And I just, skilled him to death. This is my 10th kill. And so that was the last enemy player who is actually in the game. And this is the point where I have to ask myself, is this guy stupid? Is he, an idiot, trying to drag out the match? As I mentioned in the beginning, it took like 23 minutes of time. By the way, the landing restarting process took 3 minutes of that battle, which is a long percentage part of doing nothing in a battle, just to get combat effective again. It's realistic, but for, there is a certain type of balance between gameplay and realism. But I think Gaijin managed to do this alright, I guess, at least for the American jets. And I was not sure if the enemy player, gave his best and respawned in a tank or a plane. Didn't spot anything, nor a tank, nor not a tank, nor a airplane. I still have 50 cals, but he was a German player. I think there is no German tank that you can gun down with machine gun fire. At least no higher tier 1. And we try to search for that guy once more. Back to this enemy player. Now, in other games, or other game modes, so to speak, it is always awesome to see a 1 versus 5, 1 versus 3, and the one guy getting away with a victory at the end. And there I saw that this guy must be behind me. He broke off. I'm damaged, but it is still good enough to keep me in the air. And yeah, back to this one. You know, it is very awesome if you see somebody getting away with it, you know, snatching the victory from the jaws of defeat. In realistic battles, it happens very, very often. The spawn point system or the respawn point system is not very nice. You know, just look at the spawn points I have. I mean, I could respawn for days. Thing is this, it doesn't make too much sense for me. And that's the battle for me. And remember, I made 2 kills with airplanes. I killed 8 tanks, 3 of them in the M60. We won the match. I have a premium account. The battle took 23 minutes. And for all that, I just get 103,000 silver lines and 5,136 research points. That is nothing. I get this in arcade for less, you know, less work. That's it. And this is, you know, a big difference. And also, you know, that's probably going all to the tanks. But now this is divided between 2 aircraft and 1 tank in realistic. If you're still convinced that everything is alright with realistic, I wish you the best of luck to grind through just with realistic. But give arcade a try in research purposes. And just think about this. How much research points would I have made in realistic battle with a chat when I killed 3 other people? At least 4,000 research points. So, anyways, that's it for today. I hope you understood the message of this video. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Give this video a like if you did. Subscribe if you want to see more. Let me know in the comment section what you think about this whole situation, if you agree or disagree. If no, let me know why. Follow me on Twitter and see you in the skies and on the battlefield.